when I knew he was the man for me is when we were both doing an invisible whammy bar solo. Down, 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 and we were both doing this invisible whammy surf guitar. And it was like, wow, it was so clear what this record would be.
Welcome to the XS Noize Podcast, the chart-topping music interview show. I'm your host, Mark Millar. In this episode, I'm joined by Miles Kane to talk about his brand new album, Sunlight in the Shadows. If you missed our last episode, I spoke with Kieran Lavery and Burrs Den about their collaborative EP, Promiser, so be sure to check it out. And don't forget to follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Produced by Dan Auerbach of the Black Keys, Sunlight in the Shadows is 12 tracks of psych-infused rock and roll, full of screeching guitars, swagger and soul. It's an album that mixes T-Rex, Motown and the easy beats into something fresh, fierce and full of fun. We talk about the creative fire behind the album, working side by side with Auerbach in Nashville, rediscovering the fun in rock and roll, and why this album was built to be played live. So let's get into it. This is Miles Kane talking about his new album, Sunlight in the Shadows, on the XS Noize Podcast. So hi Miles Kane, welcome to the XS Noize Podcast.
Thank you very much, mate. It's an honour to be here.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you on. You're about to release your new album, Sunlight in the Shadows. What an album. You know, it feels like a record that captures everything you've done and everything you're becoming. There's swagger, soul, spirituality, and that unmistakable tremolo shimmer running through it all. So let's mate, dive in.
Can you write all the reviews, please, mate? That's it, innit? That's it. No more to be said. We're done.
That's it.
No, that's great, mate. No, I think the way you just described that, mate, is exactly, I couldn't have put it better myself, to be honest, man. I think there's a sense of sort of how I feel as a person in life, aside from music, has transcended into this whole creation of this album. And I think the whole process of it, the fact of, the going to Nashville on my own, the meeting Dan, who was he's a lifelong hero of mine, someone I've been a fan of for such a long time. So basically, my last album was called One Man Band, and I made that with my cousin James Skelly up in Liverpool. And it was great, and a great album, and great doing it as a family thing and all that. And me and him have been lifelong fans of Dan Auerbach, basically. And we had this idea of me sort of, wouldn't it be great? Imagine we were going to make One Man Band part, or the next album together with James. James like, it'd be great, you and him, try some writing. I was like, yeah, that would be cool. Anyway, cut the story short, set this meeting up in Nashville where I went over on my own just to meet Dan, basically, really. And I guess the plan was if we hit it off or we wrote a song or whatever, I'll probably bring it home and record it over here, what have you. And then as soon as I walked in there with Dan, there was just this sense of like, because I was apprehensive, I was a bit anxious. It's out of my comfort zone. I'm on my own. You're walking someone else's world. You know what I mean? There's maybe, but I was made to feel so welcome and respected and warm, in there, in someone else's world, that we completely hit it off. And after the first day of writing, around the kitchen table like this, he was like, I'd love to produce this record. I feel this is something. And he feels a vibe. I was like, me too. And cut the story short, it happened. And then he sat and he's like, I want to sign you to my label. And thank God I was sort of doing the thing with the family. They were like, we're not going to stand in your way. You can go and do that because it's a great opportunity. So it kind of all, even that happening like that, aside from writing a song, say with Dan Auerbach, or, the whole story of it. And then the sort of free flowing into a few months later, we recorded 15 songs in a week. It's kind of, for a long time, I've still had to be pinching myself about it. And I think the songs, the vocals, the lyrics, like you said, it's kind of everything you've been working on these last 20 years or whatever, I think it's just like the best version of all that at this moment in my life, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I read that you and Dan clicked instantly over Link
Mm.
Ray, Motown, T-Rex. What was it about that chemistry that unlocked something new in you?
Yeah, because it's like, I think it was just like probably it's such a tricky one, because like those things have been my influences forever, as have they have for Dan as well. And I think it was just like in the writing process of it, and like those songs that are on the album, even when we were writing them like this, we were both, when I knew he was the man for me, is when we were both doing an invisible whammy bar solo, humming a song. Like I'd be like, the riff would go, because we just had two acoustics, there's no electric, and right, and we were like, down, 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 and we were both doing this invisible whammy surf guitar, and it was like, wow, this guy is like, we are so, not to sound like cheesy, see, like it was so clear what this record would be, you know what I mean? It was kind of like looking in the mirror in a weird way, of stylistically.
Yeah, well, let's dig into the record, what it feels like underneath the riffs. The title Sunlight in the Shadows feels like a metaphor for where you are personally. What does that phrase mean to you on a deeper level?
I think that phrase, a lot of the lyrics, I think subconsciously are about, in life, I've definitely found feeling good at the minute, but you have those moments, don't you, with drugs and alcohol, whatever it may be, and they can take you down a dark path, you know what I mean? Or you sort of think you've got a balance, but you don't really. And I think there's a lot about that, of like pulling yourself out, and of those sort of moments. Sunlight in the Shadows is about that for me, really. Like, and also about that. It's a bit of that underdog lyric thing. There's like, I'm a bad man if you say I am, but I know nobody really gives a damn. All right, I'm going to stand tall and show you all. You can mount my head up on the wall tonight, which is kind of so over the top, but in that confidence, self-belief thing. And I remember I was like, is that too much, that lyric, Dan? He was like, no, man, that's fucking great. You can do it. So every time I sing, you can mount my head up on the wall tonight, I kind of get a smile, and I think that's what music's all about, really.
Absolutely. You've talked about becoming more spiritual as you've grown older. So how did that find its way into songs, especially for I Pray? For
Yeah,
example?
I think there's just it's something like, isn't there? It's like, I think it weirdly started like, even on my last album, I had a song called about the footballer Roberto Baggio, and it's about my childhood and my love for the Italian Serie A on the Sunday in that World Cup in '94. Anyway, and I wrote this song, and he invited me to his house, and he gave me his book on Buddhism, and he's a spiritual guy, and it's not like in a preachy way. There's just something about that sort of, at the end of the day, it's almost like that sticking to your guns and just trying to not get distracted by outside dark noise or negative shit that is so apparent. And I think is always, I've learned to have thick skin, but I'm used to that now. And I think going on a bit of a spiritual thing in sort of, I know I believe in good karma, and I believe in, yeah, we've all fucking fucked up and done mistakes. That's life, you know what I mean? You can't be fucking Mr. Square, or Mr. Square's boring. But I just think being in touch with that side of things, and I think it's weird when you, without sounding like a cunt, because probably 10 years ago, I look at myself now talking, thinking, shut up, you fucking knob. But, it's like, I don't know, it's just where you're at. And I think there's these little synergies of life that sort of you can feel happening or subconsciously. And I think it's just when you're in that place of being true, these little things do happen. And I think you've got to grab onto it while it's there, because it's tough sometimes. It won't be. And I feel like I'm in that place now. So I'm just trying to, like, I'm not saying this is the be all and end all, but I'm just trying to enjoy it. And I feel it's working for me at this moment in time. I could be fucking wrong, but that's what it feels like.
No, I noticed that. You've always had the swagger, but there seems to be more calm and confidence here. It seems like your energy has changed since One Man Band or Coupe de Grace.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm just trying to think how you describe it. The bravado side will always be there, and that's sort of, that amped up rock star image, I guess, whatever you call it.
As Roy Keane would say, that's your job.
Yeah, it's entertainment, and I'm that thing of being, the man and the thing on stage that I find that very natural as well, but I think it's really hard to explain, mate. I don't know. That mixed with a bit more of a centered thing gives it a new bravado. It's hard in a weird way. I don't know. But don't know. I'm just buzzing about basically. And I think not as maybe worried as you once were, where maybe if you do feel a bit worried, you overcompensate with the bravado.
Let's dig into some of the songs. Love is Cruel opens the album with that killer line, "She's a midnight scooter rider."
My favourite lyric on the album.
Where did that image come from?
I don't know, mate. In my head, I was seeing like a Tarantino film, and I think that riff and that thing, bro, and I almost like a desert rider, and I see like a girl all in leather. There's like this old film called Girl on a Motorcycle, where the imagery of that was that, and I just got this badass image of this like cool 60s girl on like a scooter with a leather on it, and almost like it's like Clint Eastwood as well in the desert. And I don't know, that for me was just one of the most, it's just a cool lyric and a cool image. And it was one of the ones that I wanted that to be the first single for this, because it's been hard to choose the singles of this campaign. But I think everyone was in agreement of having that one as the first single, because it's got that grandness of music that I love, like a bit of a Morricone. It's a bit shadow puppetsy, that sort of cinematic zone with these cool lyrics. So it was kind of, there was never any doubt that I wanted that to be first, really, and the first track of the album. I think it sets the tone of, it's kind of got that classiness as well. God, can I blow this tune up anymore?
Yeah, absolutely. And Electric Flower, it's a proper glam rock banger. Paint that day for me. What was happening in that room?
Electric Flower was one of them. Like, I Love Is Cruel come from like a little demo I had on the phone. Electric Flower, like the riff. Electric Flower was one of them. That and My Love, maybe one more, come from absolutely, like, there was nothing to like start it off. When it just sort of happened from no rough idea even. So that was me and Dan desperately trying to write a song like T-Rex, I guess. You know what I mean? And having that sort of straightforward one that I could imagine, it's a Saturday night one with the girls getting ready and dancing and stuff. And it was kind of set out to make a little glam stomper. And I think weirdly, that's kind of the one that's connected the most with people at the minute, I think.
Yeah, I love that. But the one that's connected with me personally is Blue Skies. I think it's very, very Lennon-esque, Plastic Ono Band sort of vibe going on.
I've just been learning that again, because I'm going to play a first full band gig next Friday. I'm releasing. I want to play like 6, 7 new ones. So we're going to play that one, because I think it's an instant riff banger. It's got that Lennon-y vibe a bit. And it's Cold Turkey or something.
Yeah, well, there's that Blue Skies and Without You. How do you balance power and vulnerability when you write?
You mean lyrically and stuff? I don't.
Yeah.
You mean I've got no qualms with being open. I guess quite a lot of these lyrics are quite melancholy, but I think I've always kind of done that. That just seems to be, I'm comfortable in writing like that. I don't mind leaving myself open. Do you know what I mean? And I'm probably more comfortable than ever with that. And I think I'm 39, I've lived a life, and you've been through a lot. There's a lot of feelings you feel on an everyday basis, really. And I think I just tap into that, you know what I mean?
And where do your songs come from?
You know what? It just starts like from even like last night, you're watching fucking Alan Partridge, and I'm just got the acoustic, and it's in those little moments that I think the start of cool things do happen. And there's a sort of selfishness that goes with that I'm trying to find this balance of with life, I guess, as well. But it's tough when you love something so much. And I really enjoy making music, playing music. I enjoy chatting about music. You know what I mean? I enjoy the whole shebang. So there's definitely a selfishness that brings in life. But I think I'm content with that at the moment. And I quite like that, just being in your own little world. And I think there's a happiness that, it may sound sad on the outside, but for me, I find it happy to be getting these new ideas when you're in those moments of solace and chilling, and there's Alan Partridge in the background, but you're getting this fucking Lennon riff. That for me is kind of is just what I like. You know what I mean? That makes me happy, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it does at the minute anyway, mate. It could all change.
Yeah, I mean, you've collaborated a lot. You've made records with Lana Del Rey, Alex Turner, obviously, and now Dan. All strong personalities. What's the secret to keeping your own voice in these collaborations?
I think I've made me right. I'm a grafter and I don't take anything for granted. And I think whatever it is, whatever album, whether it's with R. James in Liverpool, with Dan in Nashville, I get my head into gear a couple of months before going in, if that makes sense. You know, I take my work seriously and I'll get off the booze. I won't go out and I sort of train, you know, I'll sing the songs every day. I'll try and tweak a lyric. I'll get my riff sorted. So it's almost like, you know, the fight camp, the 6-week fight camp, then the fight's the recording of the album. I know that sounds very cheesy, but it's like there's a mindset in that sort of frame of working that I really like. And touch wood, you know, these people that I have worked with are more successful than me. And people could probably see it as like, oh, is he just gagging in on their coattails? Which I could, you know, that's everyone has their opinion. But I think I've proved myself each time. And I think just by grafting and I raised my game, because otherwise, if it didn't, we wouldn't have been releasing those albums or those songs with them people. Do you know what I mean? Just to sort of back myself a little bit now.
Dan said he wanted to give you your Scott Walker moment. How did that feel hearing it from him?
I was like, yeah, I was like, I was buzzing, mate. Yeah. No, I was like, that's what I mean. I think, you know, everyone, well, if you're a fan, and I've mentioned Scott Walker a lot, I love that balance of that sort of, it's like that classy old school, it's got attitude, dramaticness. There's a bit of sort of like theatrics in it, I guess, which is something that I really enjoy as well. So yeah, I mean, to hear someone like that, like you said, he's one of my heroes, should we say, or inspirations, and you've looked up to. Yeah, for him to say that, it gives me confidence, to be honest. You know what I mean? Because it's like someone that I now have an amazing relationship with and have made something really special with, you know, and for him to sort of, should we say, back me or believe in me, whatever way you want to call it, when he doesn't have to, or there's no, you know, there's no hype around me. There's not a, you know, no one's fighting, no one's fighting for my corner. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just purely off his will from what he's seen from me on that first day, with no big hoo-ha around me or of things. So it makes me feel great, to be honest. Yeah.
He also said you were larger than life, raw in your face, but sexy with it too. And you have depth. So,
wow, what a guy.
You know, do you feel like he really saw who you are as an artist?
This is what I'm saying, 100%. And I think that's why I think we have so much trust and respect in each other that I will say, is that lyric too much? And he'll say yes or no, and I'll go cool. Or is that good enough? No, yeah. You know, if I'm unsure, or vice versa, we give an A and a B, you know, and I think whatever side it is, I mean, I would say to him, you know, is this vocal, is it a bit softer, a bit harder? Should I do that at the end? And I would sort of take his lead on those things, because I think that's what a respectful working relationship should be, you know what I mean? And there was no egos with that. It's just like whatever feels right, you know, and I think that's why it is what it is, really. And I think there's cool little loose moments in there that on a song like Sunlight in the Shadows, you can hear me counting in the band and you can hear me shouting, okay, riff now, because I'm doing the vocals live. And I remember as when we were sort of finished and mixing it, I was like, should we take out my bits? You can hear me setting the riff to the band. He's like, no, that gives it an actual live thing, where in my mind, because I'm so used to maybe making everything a bit cleaner, shall we say, and take out those bits. I'm so glad now that he kept that in there. That, like, me going riff on something like the Shadows is kind of part of the song now, weirdly, you know, where I'm so like happy that it is. So it's like, yeah, just, I don't know. I feel as sort of respected as I do for him, I feel for him, if that makes sense.
The album was recorded live in just 3 days. You know, that's wild. It seems like it unlocked, you know, a raw process inside.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's like this, I think this thing of like, I mean, hopefully, I want to just do my next one like this as well. But it's like when you are sort of confident and comfortable with that, doesn't sound sexy, but yeah, and you know what you're doing and you've done your own work and it's mapped out and you've got an amazing band and we can rehearse it up and the songs know exactly what they are and the riffs do and the lyrics, which is what this is. And it should be like that. And it was, maybe it doesn't always, but it flew out, bro. It was like 15 songs in 5 days all live. And, even I was doing the vocals by the third take, whatever vocal it was on that stayed, then I'd just stay in the booth and double track it and then we're on to the next track where, I can't remember. I haven't done that for a long time. Usually it's like, you're recording the tracks and do a guide vocal and you go back and do another down the vocal. It all gets a bit long-winded, but I think it goes to show the sense of environment and the confidence of probably me and Dan in the songs and just the whole vibe, the whole painting, all those elements let you get your vocals like that. Yeah.
It seems like you have amazing chemistry with the players. What's your standout memory from those sessions?
I mean, like little Barry on guitar and, Tommy Brenwick from Budos Band, who I'd done sessions with many years ago, and Malcolm on drums. These are like top notch. I'm fans of their stuff individually as session players or their own stuff. So that's what I mean. To be honest, it was a bit daunting going in because these are like A-class players, you know what I mean? And that's why I had to raise my game as well. But it was just fucking magical, man. And there was no hurdle, you know what I mean? So it's kind of seems a bit magical and mystical and a bit dreamlike and it almost feels too good to be true. You know what I mean? But it literally was that. And kind of one of those things I'll never forget, to be honest,
You've said that this record is the sound of two worlds colliding, British beat meets American soul. Did that change how you see your own roots?
Yeah, whoever knew we needed a Scouse Nashville combo, I don't know, man. I think, there's probably a little bit of that Americana sound in there, and rightly so, because you're over there and there's some American players. But I don't know. I just think it's the perfect amalgamation of those stuff that we love. And it gives it's giving me a new little edge, maybe. You know what I mean? Do you reckon?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you see this record as a new chapter or a moment where all your previous sales have just came together?
I know because it's like, you love every moment and every album you do, don't you? And I think I have said this does feel like a new chapter. And again, I don't know whether I dramatize these explanations too much or whatever, but it just does, and it's, I don't know how to sort of, what would I say, reiterate that? The word I'm looking for. Oh, fuck. I go more into detail on that. But yeah, I think you can hear it in the music and you can see it when you talk to me. And I think that's all I can do.
Well, you've just come off Transmit and a Black Keys tour. Did those crowds give you a sense of how the new songs land?
Yeah, you know what? It's the song Sunlight in the Shadows. I can, famous last words here, I'm teeing myself up right for a good one now, aren't I? But I think Sunlight in the Shadows will be the song off this album. And I do think that it's like that riff down. I think I'm going to be ending my sets on that. And it's going to be like that sing-along riff in a way of a bit of a Kasabian-y vibe. Or I think that'll be as big for me as a Come Closer or Don't Forget Who You Are. And, even I've been doing these little like acoustic, in the in-stores up and down the country is the incentive to buy the album and stuff. And I've been sort of singing the riff on the acoustics going bam, 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 bam. And people are getting it now and they're singing it. It's become a bit of a thing. So I think when that's out and people hear it, I think that's going to be like the banger, shall we say.
You've clearly built amazing chemistry with big characters, so let's talk about some of those worlds a bit more. You've worked with Alex Turner for years. Have you ever talked about what The Last Shadow Puppets meant for you both, and could you see something happening down the line?
Well, we had dinner last night with each other, actually, yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think we both have so much respect, and we were chatting that, like, I think the second album's 10 years old next year, and that first album is, nearly 20 years. I don't know. But it's just fucking weird, isn't it? How that seems so long ago now. And, when you're saying like 10 years, 15 years, but I think we have so much respect for it. And I think first and foremost, and our friendship is how all that began, really, I think. So I think if it comes to the place where we're both sat on the sofa watching Alan Partridge and the acoustics come out, I don't think it'd ever be like, right, let's make a Shadow Puppets album and set aside. I don't think the pressure of that would work. I just think it'd have to happen naturally. And whether that does or whether it doesn't, I don't know. But I know from my side, I don't like to talk for people when they're not here, but I would like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, be great. Be great. I've watched the first episode of Alan Partridge, by the way.
Me too.
The Rupert the Bird outfit.
Mate,
Amazing.
fucking hell, it happened that. Isn't it fucking, mate, I've been rewatching The Trip as well, Rob Brydon, and
Yeah.
I'm on a bit of a fucking Coogan vibe at the minute.
Miles, you've always had an eye for style. Does how you look and move still inspire how you sound?
Yeah, I think it does actually. Even like but when I was going to Nashville and that, and I knew we'd be doing. I was doing photos there that'd be for the album, or I knew there was some photos she'd set up, and I kind of was planning my outfits each day for the mood of the song, because it's just something that I love. That, you know what I mean? It's like I've always been like that with clothes. I've never had a stylist and stuff. I have a vision of my own little world of clothes and moods, and I do, I guess, kind of dress to suit me mood. And sometimes it's a bit more outlandish, or sometimes it's kind of like the reset of going back to the mod button. And it's just something I enjoy, mate, to be honest. Yeah, it's a bit of like a hobby or part of me, really.
Yeah, you've always dressed well. That's why I had to throw that one in there. Like,
yeah, mate. No, it's like an exciting thing for me. As mad as that, you know what I mean? Yeah.
When you played this record for your mum, what was her reaction?
She loves always in over my head, that one. And there's some touching lyrics there about sort of me mum and me dad and stuff like that. And she, she loves it, and she loves like that. She's the one that got me into the T-Rex and the Motown and the Northern Soul and stuff like that. So yeah, she's throughout my career, I always send my mum my demos. I think we have a close relationship, but I'm an only child and she's on her own. So even if I do sort of include her as much as I can into my life, with updates, I guess, and stuff, just to like keep her in the loop, really.
Yeah, you mentioned she got you the T-Rex. Looking back, is there a song or an album by any other artist that brings back the best memories for you?
Funny enough, I was thinking about this the other day, and my mum said, I was, when I was a kid, I went to see the Super Fairy Animals in Liverpool when I was like 14, I think I was. And we got back into there, and now I've just seen that they've announced they're doing a comeback next year. Yeah. But I was like a massive fan. Still am a massive fan. I was chatting about with her the other day, and I remember she said, when you come home from that gig, I was in town. It was first, I was in the mosh pit. It was they did the tour for the Rings Around the World album. And I couldn't believe this gig. It blew my mind. It absolutely blew my mind. And I bought like a fake T-shirt outside, and I come home to my mum's. I was drenched in sweat with this blue, and I've got the T-shirt at my mum's. It just says fairies on it, a fake one that was outside. And she said I had this, she goes, I lost you at that point. Not that lost you. Things change when, I was like, I need to do that. Or they just blew my head so much that she said she'll never forget the look on my eyes when she opened the door. I know she saw this like glazed over look with this fairy, big fairies T-shirt. And like she said something changed that day. And I think so. I think probably Super Fairy Animals is sort of a band that maybe I forgot about for a while. I've sort of rediscovered. And I think, that story alone sort of tells us it has definitely had an impact. Like,
what's the biggest thing you've learned about yourself from these years of music, fame, and reinvention?
I think the way I feel now is, I don't trust no one. I don't really let anyone in. I don't go chasing. I'm content. I think the feeling of contentment is the most powerful feeling that I feel now, as in myself, really. And sort of, I won't go pleasing anyone, to an extent, or sort of play that character. I think I've done that.
I'm going to put you on the spot here, Miles.
Go on.
If there's someone you bump into and they've never heard your music, what 5 songs should they start with?
Okay. Come Closer, Never Taking Me Alive, Sunlight in the Shadows, Walk on the Ocean, and The Shadow Puppets Standing Next to Me.
All bangers. That's the quickest anybody has ever answered that question.
I just went with the flow. It just came out. God, finally someone's asked me that. Yeah. I've had that for 20 years, that answer, mate.
Honestly, that's the quickest. There was no hums and ahs. It was just bang, bang,
I just
bang,
went
bang.
on instinct there, mate. I knew it, I felt it. And I think I backed those answers, yeah.
Yeah. If you could go back and relive one musical moment from your career so far, what would it be?
Fucking hell, yeah. Look at this one. She's fucking can't get away on this
You're
one.
not
There's
so
no
quick now.
instinct there. Yeah. Yeah, no. What would I relive? As in, you know what? I tell you what, probably the writing of these songs around that kitchen table. And there's this footage with Dan, those first early ones when we wrote My Love, Without You, that feeling of just writing it and not demoing it and just doing it on the notepad in its most simple form. I think that feeling I loved so much. I think I'll just go for that now. I think there's probably gigs you could mention that are like maybe feel like the adoration or the excitement of that. But right now I'll go for just writing those simple songs with the notepad and the acoustic in Nashville with Dan.
I don't know whether this next question is based on fact. So this is why I read it recently doing my research and I thought I'm going to have to ask him about this because this is mad. I read that you switched football teams. You started out following Manchester United and became a Liverpool fan in 2010. What's the story?
So when I was a kid, my uncle would take me to play. I always used to play footy Sunday league. He was a United fan, and he kind of brought me up. And I sort of did follow them for a bit. And then when I become my own person, I guess, and I'd go to Liverpool with my mates and stuff, I just had to become my own man, really, and not look up to my uncle, which is no disrespect, but I guess that's the story behind it, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was mad. Like, a young guy from the world supporting Manchester United.
I know exactly, but that's the story of it, I guess. But I don't want to. I'm not throwing my uncle under the bus because rest in peace, Paul. But that's the story of it, I guess. It was like we don't need to go deeper than that with family, and this is not a therapy session. But that's the story. But let's just say we've seen the light now, the sunlight and the shadows, mate. Innit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's right. I love that.
Finally, Miles, when you listen back to Sunlight in the Shadows 10 years from now, what version of yourself will you be hearing?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll just think, fucking hell, that's cool as fuck. I think I think so. I think every album, you can say from what's come before this one, I think they all give me a certain feeling, and you can probably tell by looking at me what's going on each album. But I think this will hold up. Yeah. And I think hopefully I'll still feel how I feel now.
I agree. It's an absolute banner.
Let's hope so, mate. Yeah.
Well, Miles, that's me done. Thank you very much.
I really enjoyed that, brother. Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. Good.
You're going to be playing any Irish dates?
Yeah. So we're announcing the tour next week or week after, and we're doing Dublin, Belfast. Yeah. Right. So they're on the tour, mate. So come down to it. You're more than welcome. That'll be it's like be around things like February, March, something like that, or Jan to March is the UK and Europe. So let's do it, baby. It's right, mate. Full respect.
No problem. Take it easy, mate. Have a good day. Bye bye.